This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The lengthy police interrogation video of Jeremy Skibicki has been released. The 37-year-old is on trial for first-degree murder in the deaths of 4 Indigenous women. CBC's Brittany Greenslade takes us through this shocking confession. And a warning to our viewers, the details are graphic.
Come on in here. We'll grab Steve.
These are the first few moments after Jeremy Skibicki was arrested, the early morning hours of May 17, 2022. The 37-year-old taken into a police interrogation room by 2 officers. Skibicki gets settled in.
You got a watch there?
They take the watch from his wrist, a keepsake police later learned was from one of the victims.
And what is this person's name?
Her name is Rebecca Contois.
Okay, that's what we're talking about.
Rebecca Contois' partial remains had been found inside a North Kildonan dumpster just days before. It led them to Skibicki and his arrest. Then a 20-hour police interrogation. Police questioned him about the gruesome discovery.
Oh, it was just disturbing. Yeah, well, this is the nature of human beings. You know, this is how a human being lives life.
Skibicki appears at ease, sitting back in his seat, relaxed. At one point, he lays down to nap on the floor. Hours in, he makes a shocking confession.
I killed 4 people. Okay.
Skibicki has admitted to killing Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, Rebecca Contois, and a 4th still unidentified woman given the name Mashkade Bishake Ikwe Iban. His lawyers are arguing he shouldn't be held criminally responsible because of a mental disorder.
Okay, but really, it was like, you know, like a lion, you know, with prey as well.
He tells police he didn't know all the victims' names, but remembered Morgan Harris and her last moments.
It's when she went up for smoke, like I wasn't even going to let her have that, but I was thinking, like, this is gonna be your last smoke, so I better enjoy that.
Skibicki sexually assaulted the women, killed them, committed vile acts to their bodies, and disposed of them.
I was very overconfident by the last thought because I was like, sure, I would get away with it. Because the other times, like, they were like in the bin for like 4 or 5 days.
The Crown is arguing he was intentional with his killings and they were racially motivated.
The first one, it was just kind of like, just hatred and disgust. I think that extreme desperate measures need to be taken for the survival of my people.
And he tells police,
I'm going to plead guilty to all of it because it doesn't, like, what happens to me is it's never going to be enough.
Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew is reacting to testimony heard in the trial of Jeremy Skibicki. The court heard how Skibicki met the women at shelters in the city, then took them to his apartment where he killed them. On Information Radio this morning, Kinew said it's important to keep in mind these women have value and deserve respect.
If we think about what the dignity of these women means to us, I do think that it means in other areas, such as how we respond to vulnerable people in our society, such as how we respond to homelessness, addictions, the ongoing social challenges that we face in our province.
Kinew says the case is a stark reminder of how more needs to be done to help vulnerable people in Manitoba. A former inmate is suing the province for negligence over the way it uses solitary confinement. James Darren Audi has applied for the suit to become a class action. He wants to represent all current and former Manitoba inmates who opt in, specifically those who had a serious mental illness, who were youth, or who spent more than 15 consecutive days in solitary confinement. The suit claims the province has maintained an enormously harmful system and say solitary confinement is used without due process or oversight. None of the allegations have been proven in court, and a statement of defense has not yet been filed. More duplexes and triplexes could be coming to neighborhoods near you. Winnipeggers went to City Hall to voice their opinions on a package of proposed zoning changes, and as CBC's Cameron McLean reports, it's part of an effort to speed up construction.
Winnipeg's mature communities could see more houses being built. The city has embarked on a process to completely overhaul its zoning rules. Earlier this year, it loosened rules around minor construction projects like fences and decks. Today, the Property Committee approved a raft of changes to make it easier to build infill housing.
We're going a little deeper in the zoning bylaw, and we're looking at townhomes. We're looking at patios, and we're certainly looking at parking and public washrooms.
The changes will allow duplexes and triplexes in single-family neighborhoods. The changes will apply to Winnipeg's mature neighborhoods, meaning those built before 1950. Some residents, like Brian Pincott, welcome the changes.
I support the changes because they start opening up the opportunity to have more housing within our existing established neighborhoods, which is exactly what we need.
Others worried about the changes to the character of their neighborhood. John Orlico represents the River Heights Fort Garry ward.
Just to do mature neighborhoods, I find, puts the focus just on mature neighborhoods. It needs to be expanded to other neighborhoods as well.
Other changes would make it easier for businesses to add patios and allow public washrooms as an accessory use. The city agreed to make the changes in exchange for $122 million from the federal government's Housing Accelerator Fund. More changes are expected to come later this year, when the city will consider allowing up to 4 units per lot citywide. Councillor Brian Mays represents the St. Patel ward.
I continue to have concerns about what's coming in the fall, but I think today it's really staff trying to implement what we told them to do, and it'll be good.
Council still needs to approve the zoning changes. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The pro-Palestine encampment at the University of Manitoba is set to come down tonight, but people there say they plan to continue their protest in other ways. The demonstrators are demanding the university disclose and cut ties to companies and institutions implicated in Israel's invasion of Gaza. Encampment spokesperson Victoria Romero says getting the school to agree is just the first step.
If they're willing to sit down and accept the demands, that would really signal that the university cares about human rights. They identify that there is a human rights crisis going on, a genocide going on, and that they're standing on the right side of history. And with that, we would hope that the administration would be willing to work with us on issues going forward.
The encampment was set up amid similar protests on campuses across Canada and the U.S. A national anti-smoking group is applauding Manitoba's premier for openly talking about long-standing lawsuits against big tobacco companies. Wab Kinew said over the weekend the province is expecting hundreds of millions from a settlement, but as CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports, the companies and other provinces involved in the lawsuits are not sharing the details.
Premier Wab Kinew says money from the settlement will go toward building a new Cancer Care Manitoba headquarters and cancer prevention. Kinew says the province could get up to $500 million in its first payment this year or in early 2025. Kinew made the announcement at Manitoba's NDP convention on Saturday. Cynthia Collard is Executive Director of Physicians for a Smoke-Free Canada.
I was completely surprised, because none of the governments have said anything about the lawsuit. And over the last 5 years, when they've been negotiating with the tobacco companies, there's been a complete cone of silence.
Manitoba was among a group of 6 provinces who sued major tobacco companies in 2012. It was to get back costs of providing health care for tobacco-related illnesses. According to court documents, their case is now in mediation. Lawyers for 2 of the tobacco companies told CBC News they could not comment due to a court order. A lawyer representing the group of provinces, including Manitoba, also declined to comment. On CBC's Information Radio Thursday, Kinew would not divulge how he knew a settlement was near, but he was adamant he did not misspeak.
I just think it's really important that Manitobans have confidence that when it comes to an issue as sacrosanct as and important as that there is going to be transparency and that there is going to be a commitment that we're going to use resources to fight cancer.
I think the Premier's done us a real service. I think that it's something that needs to be talked about. I think the fact that it's been in secret is should be repugnant to policymaking in Canada.
But Collard says she is concerned about provincial governments possibly getting money from the ongoing sale of tobacco. Kinew said Saturday he doesn't know how many payments there will be or what the overall sum will be. But Kinew said the total could potentially be worth billions. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Meanwhile, the Progressive Conservatives say the Premier should butt out. Interim PC leader Wayne Uwasco says Canu's comment could jeopardize the funds Manitoba may be getting. For more, we're joined now by CBC's Ian Fraze, who's live in our newsroom. Ian, why are the PCs worried?
Well, Wayne Uwasco says the Premier's comments about the tobacco lawsuit are premature. He says it might result in Manitoba getting a smaller settlement, although he did not specify how that could work.
Until the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, ink is dry, you don't speak about it. And I think there's enough evidence out there that this is court-ordered, and the Premier went out, as the Premier is showing over the last few months, grandstanding a little bit in front of his party donors and announcing something that I don't think he possibly should have.
As Rosanna just reported, lawyers for 2 tobacco companies have declined comment, citing that court order. For his part, Canu says he's done nothing wrong. Emily.
Thank you, Ian. CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk is here now. Riley, what a beautiful day.
I sure hope you were able to step out for a few minutes today, Emily, because it was a gorgeous.
I snuck away a few times, morning, midday, and late afternoon for quick walks.
Gorgeous day here in the city. Some unsettled weather moving through other parts of the province, which I'll get into. But first, looking at some of our daytime highs from today, reaching 22 in both Brandon and Portage, 24 in Melita this afternoon. A bit cooler through northwestern Ontario, just in the high teens, but still, you know, that's seasonal for this time of the year, and these temperatures above seasonal for this time of the year. So 23s are both Dauphin and Swan River. A little bit cooler through the north as well, where we have seen a few showers rolling through, which we'll get into right now. So looking at satellite radar, we have seen mainly sunny skies across the south today as forecast, and into northwestern Ontario. That will continue, but I'm going to kind of show you a little bit about what's happening here in the north, because we don't have radar coverage per se this far north in Manitoba. So this area of cloud cover here is where we're seeing some of the shower activity, and this little bank of instability here is where we're starting to see some of that thunderstorm activity starting to roll into northern Manitoba. So we'll expect a few rumbles of thunder pushing east as we get through the evening hours tonight, and you can see that kind of depicted on Futurecast here as we get into the evening. So here's that sort of main band of rain pushing out through the overnight hours. By the time we hit the morning tomorrow, still mainly cloudy through northeastern Manitoba, and a few spotty showers still left over. But back to the west, we're seeing much more clearing, and that's what we'll expect as we get through the rest of Friday. Mainly sunny for the rest of us in Manitoba, and really just a few clouds kind of hanging around in the south as we get through the early part of Saturday, ahead of a little bit more instability through northern Manitoba. And you can even see here along the Hudson Bay coast late Saturday, the possibility for some snow. A lot of this depending, of course, on the wind and whether it's pulling some of that colder air and pushing it onshore off of Hudson Bay, which of course impacts the temperatures. And as we get into Sunday, we're expecting another day where we're expecting kind of a mix of sun and clouds. So looking at accumulations rainfall-wise, really a trace to a couple of millimeters yet to come, but we could see some higher pockets in some of that non-severe thunderstorm activity through northern Manitoba through the evening into the overnight period tonight. What we will feel as we move into Friday will definitely be the winds out of the north and northwest across the south, gusting up to 40 once again. So not as windy today, but you're definitely going to feel those north and northwest winds as we head through the rest of Friday. Even some gusts into that 60 kilometer an hour area as we get through the afternoon hours. So by the time we reach the afternoon, highs in the upper teens once again for northern Manitoba. Mix of sun and clouds. Maybe a couple of lingering showers, and the south, mainly sunny skies. Temperatures at or above that 20-degree mark by the time we reach the afternoon hours. Again, 20s for the southwest, maybe a few lingering showers into northwestern Ontario. And look at this temperature, Emily, 27 degrees for Saturday. Risk we could see some thunderstorms through the later part of Saturday into early Sunday, and temperatures like these continuing into next week.
I don't know the last time I saw a temperature as high as 27.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
A weapons warning from Joe Biden. The U.S. president tells Israel he'll pull critical military support if it invades Rafah. Israel's threat of an imminent ground invasion has created a widening rift with its #1 ally. That story after the break.
Let's take a hard turn to talk about something completely different. A story about Tim Cook's mentions. Apparently they're blowing up, and apparently it is a big deal. Please explain why. I have not seen it, but I've seen other folks talking about it. Yeah. Ooh, whoever is the creator of that ad campaign, they might be have been called to the principal's office to explain. The markets, how are the numbers today? All right, we'll talk to you again soon on the actual Friday. Have a good night. Reed Southwick at the CBC National Business Desk. Well, Canada is one of the largest producers of pulses in the world, and a lot of those beans, lentils, and peas are grown in Alberta. The Applied Research Centre for Culinary Innovation at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology is trying to come up with new recipes for the crops. They're creating miso to be used in restaurants in Edmonton. The CBC's Liam Harrop wanted to learn more.
Joe Biden's announcement that the U.S. will stop sending some weapons to Israel if it launches a major ground operation in Rafah has elicited strong reaction. The U.S. president has come under fire from politicians at home and in Israel. CBC's Chris Brown has the latest on the 7-month-long war in Gaza.
In Rafah, an awful new phase of the war in Gaza may be at hand, with these overnight missile strikes part of the opening salvos. The weariness on young Mohammed Khalil Abu Khanes's face captured the horror he'd experienced. My friends, they died, he said. We were gathering their body parts and pieces. Israel is facing immense international pressure to stop and not send ground troops into Rafah to attack Hamas militants. The city is crowded with more than 1 million people and is already facing cascading crises from a shortage of food, fuel, and housing. But in a video released Thursday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu struck a defiant tone. If we need to stand alone, we will stand alone. We will fight with our fingernails, he said in an apparent rebuke to U.S. President Joe Biden, who cut off some shipments of large bombs to Israel and who said he'd stop more if Israel went ahead with the major operation in Rafah.
I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem.
Everybody now understands the depth of the rift between Israel and the U.S.
Iran Etzion, a former security advisor to Israeli governments, said Israel's military can make do without the weapon shipments for now, but Biden's public rebuke is unprecedented.
And what the Americans are trying to do is to demonstrate to the Israeli public their government is not representing their interests, and their government is actually working against their interests.
But any hope the U.S. action might provoke a sudden change of Israeli strategy quickly faded as negotiators left Cairo without a deal to free Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners and suspend the fighting. Hundreds of hostage families and their supporters protested in Tel Aviv, calling for their release. The humanitarian situation in Gaza, meanwhile, is precarious. Israel released video of what it said was aid moving again through one of the two border crossings it had closed earlier in the week. But in Gaza, aid officials say almost nothing is getting through, and at best, Rafah has a day or two of food and fuel left. Chris Brown, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Juno and Grammy-winning artist Chantal Kreviazuk is coming to Winnipeg. The singer-songwriter is going on a Canadian tour to celebrate the 25th anniversary of her iconic album, Color Moving and Still. The tour includes a stop in Winnipeg Saturday, October 4th at the Burton Cummings Theatre. Tickets go on sale Monday. Riley has a last check on the weather after the break.
And thanks to the CBC's Liam Harrop for that story. Coming up to 7 minutes before 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio 1, I'm Faith Fundal. Winnipeg experimental folk band Slow Spirit has announced the release of its upcoming album, That's the Gods Talking. The band made the announcement with this next track off of the upcoming album. Have a listen. This is Slow Spirit with Window. the latest release from Winnipeg band Slow Spirit. You can hear their upcoming album this July. You're listening.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
I'm really concerned.
And I'm not really happy about that.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take. I'm Janet Stewart. From 12:30 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
It just brings everyone together.
Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you, weekdays on CBC.
So I'm putting a bit of a different spin on the dog walking forecast tonight, and you'll see why I've called it the escaping cat forecast, because I wanted to show you Jazz, because I got a good laugh out of this one. On the roof, and this is Jazz's people trying to get him down. Thanks, Paula, for sending this picture in. Talkback@cbc.ca is where you can send your pictures. I'll show them. And I would love to see him. 14 degrees first thing in the morning for Winnipeg, a mainly sunny sky. Getting up to 20 by the time we reach the afternoon. Tonight, the first time that we'll see this season, at least, a sunset at 9 p.m. and the days just continue to get longer from there. So you can see in a week we're at about 10 after 9 at a sunset, and in 3 weeks at the end of May, the sun setting at just about 9:30, so that will be nice. So we're looking at maybe a few thunderstorms late Saturday, 20 degrees for Sunday. Next best chance for some showers comes through the overnight period, Tuesday into Wednesday, where we have a good chance of showers, and 18 degrees for Thursday. Well, if the warm weather is inspiring you to do some spring cleaning like I have been doing lately, or some decluttering, your timing is great because it's giveaway weekend starting Saturday.
That's right. And, you know, people can set unwanted goods out on the curb in hopes those items are picked up. CBC's Jim Agapito spoke with some Winnipeggers eager to see what they might score.
Are you going to go out this weekend and maybe look for things?
Yeah, if the weather's nice, I don't see a reason not to.
Yeah, exactly.
At least just to walk around and see. Maybe I might be a little shy to pick up some few things, but if there's something that I really want, it's there.
How excited are you about that?
Not too bad. I'm more excited to get rid of stuff, actually, than to pick up anything.
What would you want to find?
What do you want to find?
I want to find something nice to keep me company. Maybe like maybe even a basketball, football. Like, it'd be nice to find one, you know.
What's the best find that you've had?
Honestly, just games, toys for when my daughter was little, so yeah.
Electronics? What kind? PS5?
I don't know if they're gonna give that away for free.
I mean, one can hope, right? Do you have a strategy of when you go look for things?
First thing in the morning.
Get up early.
Get up early and go first thing in the morning.
Okay, which day? It's Saturday, so how early are you going, and then what are you doing? Like, do you break it down? Do you have family all go and get things? What do you do?
I just drive around, and around 7:30, usually everything's already out there.
What's some of the strategies that you have for people that might be going?
Definitely get out there early, for sure, right? More different areas, definitely. Just go somewhere you don't live, you'll definitely find something different.
Anything you've tried to give away that you couldn't give away that you thought was awesome and no one wanted?
My kids.
Well, good luck to everyone giving and looking for stuff. That's our show for tonight.
Make sure it has a free sign on it.
What's that?
Make sure it has a free sign.
Okay. That's our show for tonight. We're on early again tomorrow. Have a good night.